I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed and struggling a little bit with the experience of sharing my last year on this channel. And I wanted to share a little bit more about what I'm currently navigating around that, or what I have been for the last little while. I've been sharing on this channel since the end of 2018, so about 6 years now, about my experience of living with schizoaffective disorder. And, for a while, it was largely met with quite good reception and positivity and connection with people. But then at the end of last year, I decided to also share on this channel my journey or attempt at using metabolic therapies like ketogenic therapy to treat my schizoaffective disorder. And I was really excited about this and what it could potentially mean for not only my life, but my audience too, the people who are watching me try to figure out how to live well with schizophrenia. I've talked about this a lot, but it was just such a surprising element, the amount of pushback and hostility that came my way once I decided and started to share this kind of new branch of my journey. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but just to paint a little bit of a picture, there's been many, many accusations leveled at me that I am dangerous or harming the community, which I've really centered my advocacy and life almost around trying to help, and that I feel a part of as well. If you check out really any of the comment section of our videos over the last year, you will see what I mean, and you will also see many people trying to discredit me, trying to tell me my experience is wrong, trying to say I'm spreading misinformation, accusing me of grifting. Newly learned what that word was, and saying that I am selling out to, I don't know, meat companies, etc. And, beyond this kind of personal hate that is being leveled at me in comments and stuff, we've even received like cyber attacks where we have just been spammed subscriptions to our emails. There have been bot comments, like hundreds and hundreds, that we then have to go through and remove and report so that our channel doesn't get flagged. People are reporting our videos for, misinformation or being dangerous. And it's been a lot. And now I think it's also important to clarify that I understand that I did not have to put this on the internet. I know that when you share something on the internet, there is a risk of getting feedback that doesn't feel great. And I understand that. I think it's been really difficult though, because it's been a very vulnerable offering that I've been putting onto the internet in terms of sharing a very personal and challenging journey that I've tried to be really authentic in how I share about it. It's not just creating content for entertainment and vlogging and stuff. I'm really sharing a deeply personal journey that I've gone through even before this last year of using metabolic therapies. And so it does feel more, I think, personally taxing because that is what I'm exposing on the internet. And again, I know that that was completely my choice. And so it is something I need to figure out how to work through. But another facet of that is that I think it's becoming really clear to me that the mental health care system and the way we currently understand mental illness is, I don't know another way to put it or a better way to put it other than kind of oppressive. And I'm realizing through seeing what people are leveling at me and reflecting on what is coming up for myself, how deeply ingrained that is for many people who it seems are communicating around this, and for myself. And so that has been an additional element of challenge where when I'm being met with these like deeply ingrained beliefs about what it means to be a good mental health patient, what it means to, or what our limited but current understanding of mental illness is, it really makes me kind of get lost a little bit in those things that are deeply ingrained in myself too, and really question it. It's been an interesting and kind of doubly difficult aspect of all of this too, to not only have to wade through all of these internalizations that I myself hold, but to then be reflected them back to me constantly too in a way that makes it even more challenging to move through them. I think that maybe it's a little bit of a coping strategy that I've been employing, but also just enjoying improved cognitive capacity to be able to do this again. But I've been reading a lot more and trying to consume as much books around psychology and philosophy to try to wade through my understanding of all of this. And also various fiction books too, to flex my empathy muscle or to strengthen that muscle, because I think that's really important in this conversation. But there was one passage, I think it was in Dr. Gabor Mate's book, The Myth of Normal, where he talks about how oftentimes people who have been yelled at the loudest have the loudest internal voice basically reflecting and echoing what they've been yelled at. And that really made me think about how, in my own personal experience, that's maybe what I'll talk from, as someone living with a severe chronic mental illness like schizophrenia and moving through the healthcare system and just society in general, I have very much been metaphorically, literally yelled at for so long now about what it means to be a good patient, what it means to responsibly manage my mental illness. And I'm understanding how deeply internalized that became and how it became almost this internal voice yelling at me about what it means to understand my own mental illness too. I think that that was a really important reflection that helps build empathy around why some people are yelling at me this internal voice that they've been yelled at essentially so loudly. And then the fact that that's still feeling challenging for me and something that I'm still struggling through trying to kind of dismantle, even having gone through this incredibly transformative experience over the last year and a bit of healing my experience of my mental illness and really stepping into this new understanding of what it means for my life. Even having moved through that incredibly transformative experience, I'm still grappling to a degree with these internalized beliefs about my mental illness and what it means about who I am and what I need to do. And so understanding that for someone who has not gone through that transformative experience, it's going to be even harder to identify and challenge those internalizations that have become so enmeshed in our collective identity. And I think wading into this concept of what we've internalized or what we've come to understand as what living with a chronic mental illness means for our own identity as another element of what needs to take place in healing. And I've talked a lot about, and I've shared and I've said that, I've healed my schizoaffective disorder over the last year. And I think really what I'm talking about in that sense is the symptoms that I experienced and healing that aspect of it and not experiencing that anymore. But I think it's worth going a step further to understand that really just the identity piece or the label of living with an illness like schizophrenia it was for me, and it kind of still is for me, can be a traumatic thing. I think that the healing process needs to include working through that as well. And maybe that's something I can continue to explore more in terms of my own personal journey of working through that. Also, in full transparency, I think I have been struggling with these feelings of, just feeling overwhelmed by the state of this conversation on my YouTube channel, comment sections, and broader. Just really feeling like it's becoming such a polarized thing when I just don't feel it needs to be. I feel like we can show up to work through this together in way more constructive ways. But something that I think has been making me feel a little bit more nihilistic about it all is that I've been struggling with my hormones over the last few months. I've shared before that I was diagnosed a while ago with PCOS, and that has affected my menstrual cycle. But recently, having introduced keto and I think also getting off of my psychiatric medications has also been a contributing factor to my cycle now starting to regulate. but I am having difficulties at certain points in my cycle with mood regulation and stuff. I'm going to do a whole video talking more about this and sharing more about how I'm navigating it, etc. But that has maybe been contributing to why it's feeling so overwhelming and difficult for me right now. At my lowest, I've gotten to places where I've just been, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't carry this weight. But I think I am coming back to, and kind of keep coming back to, trying to focus on the many, many, many of you who also comment support for this journey and who also share how learning this information and applying it to your own lives has vastly changed and improved your lives too. I don't want to turn my back to people who are having more difficulty or who are voicing skepticism at all. That is not what I'm saying here. But I do just want to kind of try to refocus more in terms of helping myself keep going with this, that it is helping a lot of people. It is helping people heal their mental illness. It is helping people improve their quality of life. And maybe it's important to talk about how that really has always been the main goal of my advocacy for the whole 6 years and before that I have been sharing publicly about my own experience of navigating schizoaffective disorder. It has always been about trying to help people live well and improve their quality of life, figure out how to effectively and constructively work through whatever challenges their mental illness brings. And that goal has not changed at all, even with this shift in how I'm personally doing that over the last year. I hope that people understand that I am sharing all this because I want to present this as an opportunity for other people if they want to use metabolic therapies and ketogenic therapy themselves. I think there's tremendous potential for that to help a lot of people. But more importantly, I think what I'm really trying to get at and create connection within our community around is feeling empowered to take more ownership over your experience of your mental illness, whether that looks like using metabolic therapies or whether that looks like something else for you. It really keeps always coming down to just trying to figure out how to improve each of our own quality of life and experience of life. So I know that some of you in the comments get a little bit frustrated, like, oh, stop dwelling on the negativity and stuff. And thank you for that support. And I get it. But at the same time, it has been such a big part of this experience for me, and a challenging one, and one that I go through ebbs and flows with, of trying to figure out how to navigate as constructively as possible. I want to keep engaging in this conversation. I really don't want to fall into approaching this from my own polarized perspective. I do think it's so important to engage with each other around these topics that concern our shared identity and our shared experience and challenge, and work through that in as empathic and constructive a way as possible. And so I kind of just want to recommit here and now to keep striving to do that and to keep striving to work through this all with you. So thank you so much, as always, for coming with me on this personal journey of exploration and broader exploration of our collective identity of what it means to live with and navigate a chronic mental illness. Make sure to subscribe to see any future videos. And as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.